Hey guys, it's Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy. This is our weekly global market recap for the week ending April the 10th. Just a little side note, some of you have made comments asking if I had painted my office, and no, I actually moved my office upstairs. I'm no longer a cellar dweller. We are empty nesters. Our son's going to be graduating, so I've moved my office to a bedroom in the upstairs, so that's why the change, but thank you to those who had noticed. Last week started out the big Packer trade pretty much as it's been for the last few weeks. Packers had only a minimal amount of offers. The few offers that they did have, they were seeking $2 to $3 higher than the week before. Just not a lot of hides offered. That said, as far as interest last week, it certainly didn't seem as if there was as many buyers out looking to buy as the past end of second half of March, I should say. Definitely resistance to some of these higher prices is increasing. However, that said, there were people still wanting to buy. They attempted to bid, knew they had to pay more than the last trade, but trying to bid lower than asking prices. The Packers, who were willing to talk about offers and extend their positions, insisted on full asking prices. And by the end of the day, it does appear as if they were successful getting a couple of dollars higher, some selections maybe even $3 higher. But I'll tell you this much, it sure seemed like they had to work a lot harder to get those higher prices. So just not as easy as shooting fish in a barrel like it was last month. But definitely didn't sell a week's worth of production. On the cowhide side of things, producers continue to possess very strong sold forward positions. Offers once again were limited. There's a little bit of a smattering of interest at the start of the week. Buyers again struggling to justify the increases being sought by some of the folks selling cowhides. The folks who are looking to buy, and again, there weren't as many as there were the last few weeks, were willing to pay more, just didn't want to pay the full asking prices. And at the end of the day, it sure seemed like it was a lot quieter in the cowhide market than it was the big Packer market. But again, I don't want to make any indications that it was a busy week for big Packers, but definitely a much, much slower week on the cows. As far as last week's harvest, I'd been telling you that we were going to start jumping up ahead of last year, and we did do that. The knock was 641. That compares to 609. Last year, the first week, we started seeing COVID problems in the packing house, 529. So we entered the week down 293,000 head versus last year. We end the week only down 184,000. And folks, I'm here to tell you, from this last week until the middle of June, that number we're going to go from being down 293,000. My estimation is we're going to be up 700,000, if not more than that, by the time we reach the middle of June. So keep that in, lock it away, and we'll keep you posted on that as we go forward here on the calendar. The export report was really nothing to write home about last week. Pretty much come in as expected. Wet salted sales were a little bit better than the week prior at 400,000. The shipments were slightly lower than they were week prior, 368,000. The wet blue, after two marketing year highs in a row, came in with a marketing year low at 64,000 and shipments at 120,000. So total everything up. The net sales were 464,000. That is one of the lowest weeks that we've seen this quarter. I think it's like the third or fourth from the bottom. Shipments fell off by about almost 100,000 at 488. So not a very impressive week. Again, after this week, I think next week's report's going to be even lower than this week. So something to keep in mind there. Going around the world real quick, our friends from Europe are telling us that their market still remains firm. They are having to work harder to get up money. It seems as if most European tanners have really kind of stepped away from the market. They're only buying hand to mouth, whereas the majority of their interest continues to be driven by traders and or interest coming out of China for the most part. Prices up depending on what part of the country or which country you're in, I should say, but up slightly, and folks continuing to insist on full asking prices, and those looking to buy resisting best that they can. So down in Brazil, a very similar story that we've been painting. Wet blue prices very firm. I know there's boast by some of selling 10 cents higher than, where the actual trading levels are. I think, a lot of that is seller talk, trying to boast and scare some people into the market, but fully steady on the wet blue down there. The fresh hides, for the most part, unchanged, but only unchanged because of a lack of real interest last week at chasing these higher prices, but they seem pretty well sold forward. And with harvest levels down about a third compared to a year ago, it's a very firm situation down there. Over to Australia, a very similar situation as to Brazil. Harvest levels down significantly. That is due to profitability in the meatworks. Meatworks are getting basically their heads handed to them. Live cattle prices at all-time high. Beef demand, because of all the beef being produced out of the United States, is okay, but packers can't get the prices up down there that they need to in order to make some money. So whereas in the United States, some of those guys who like to count the packers' money are guessing, I guess, or calculating, however you want to put it, that packers made $550 this week. Yes, I said $550 this week. Whereas in Australia, they're probably in the neighborhood of losing $200 to $300 every head. So a huge change in the dynamics down there. So, but right now, if you're selling hides in Australia, prices are higher, and because of well-sold positions, and so there you go. Guys, if you would like to get more details, please go out to my website, www.themaxfieldreport.com. If you're not currently a member, hit that button, request sample reports. I'm happy to send you a couple of the 2 reports that I do complimentary. If it's something you think that can help you, by all means, let's talk about, either getting you set up for a free trial. If you're ready to pull the trigger, get a free membership. Let's get that done. I think you're going to be very happy with the information I can bring to you. So that's all for this week. Ken Maxfield, the Hide Guy. Until next week.